Thank you.
Way to go. Well, I just checked to see if I had screen sharing ability, and I do. So there is one part that I'm gonna refer to some things that'll be helpful for you all to see. So we should be just fine. And Sally, let me know if you didn't get it, because I know I sent it, but sometimes things sit in your outbox. So groovy. Right now, Campbell Memorial does not have a COM liaison. We are short staffed on COM, and so our congregations, some of our congregations don't. But within the next 30 days, you should. After the presbytery meeting, there are some more people who are going to be coming on COM, and so you all will be a priority to make certain that you have a liaison to call and to make certain that all things are squared away. But for right now, kind of stuck with me. So, on the form, it has my telephone number that you can reach out to me and things of that nature. There are also two forms that there's a link to both forms. One is there's a new title. It's called the MDP. It used to be called the MIF, Ministry Information Form. Now it's called the MDP, and we're gonna go through the CLC stuff a little bit later on. And then there's an interim minister covenant that there's also a link for you to be able to get that and access that when you are able to, once you find the interim. Question, will all of you be considered the interim pastor search committee?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So groovy, so it won't be anybody from outside the session?
Not yet.
Interim search, not
Yeah.
normal session.
Okay, so this,
Well, for purposes of convenience, the session will serve as the interim pastor committee unless we begin to think we need to expand, so.
okay,
Yeah.
all right, that sounds good. Good. So we'll go with that. So some of the things in there won't apply because you are using the session as the interim pastor search committee. Under normal circumstances, your moderators do not participate in this process with you because they are serving as bridge interims, and therefore they are not a part of the process of the search. If you have questions, if you have anything that bubbles up, I have no idea why my camera keeps turning off, which is bothersome. Okay, hold up. That's crazy. Can you all see me? You can hear me, but you can't see me, which is crazy. I don't know what's going on. Oh my, okay. Well, that doesn't work that well, but let me see something real quick. Okay.
It's probably.
All right, there we go. Okay. Whew, I tell you what, okay. So there are two requirements that we want to make certain that you all know about regarding your interim or transitional pastor. They're using both words now. They mean the same. It just depends on what presbytery you're talking about. But it's either interim or transitional. And the first thing is they have to have interim or transitional training. They have to come in with it, not get it once they get in. We prefer them to be a little bit more seasoned and this not be their the first time out. The second is that person must become a member of the Presbytery of the James upon being hired by the session. So they can't, if that person is from outside the Presbytery, they have to join the James. As far as the process for moving forward, they have to be examined by the examinations committee of COM. They meet the first Thursday of each month.
There has to be a reference check and background check done before the in-person interview. That's a critical thing. So,
Ask a question? Well,
yes,
one question. You're speaking of only those who are not currently members of the POJ.
that is
Right.
correct.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. And yeah, because if they are a member of the POJ, they're already here and all that kind of good stuff. So good point, good looking out. Yes. But if they are from outside, then those things do apply. They have to have a background check as well as a reference check from the presbytery that they're coming from. And then they have to also have approval from COM. So the covenant has to be approved as well. And since you all are the IPNC, the session has to approve it. So you all are the session and you all are the IPNC. So obviously that's how that goes. On the list, it sort of kind of asks you to, I'm sorry, I hadn't been home all day long, and so he's just kind of needy right now. So this is my trusty associate. This is Izzy. Anyway, you want to make record the time that you have your first IPNC meeting, and of course today is the training. That's what we're doing right now. And who's going to be the moderator? Okay, goodbye. Who's going to be the moderator of the IPNC? You'll need to do that as well as a clerk. If I were you, I would choose the times you would meet. Either you can make them as a part of your session meeting, but I would invite you to not to do this process separate from session meetings because your meetings could be shorter or longer, and you don't want to be rushed by the agenda that you have. Of course, there is confidentiality during this entire process. I used to say to people that does include pillow talk, even though we can't control pillow talk. Both my parents were on session at the same time, so they talked about the church as well. And then responding to the candidates who will come to you, which they will fill out what's called a PDP. Again, we'll talk about that. One of the things that I included was just the statistical information from 2022 that Campbell sent to the General Assembly. That includes your income, your expenses, and just a breakdown. In 2022, you reported having 125 members and about 62 people in attendance, and that was in 2022. So that's just the statistical information that you turned in. And I wanted to include that in your packet as well. But what I also
Can I ask you a question
Yeah.
on something you said a minute ago? I'm confused about the term moderator. You said earlier that the moderators can't participate in the IPNC, but then about a minute ago, you said something about the IPNC has to have a
Sure.
clerk and a moderator. Can the clerk be the moderator?
So
Or do
normally
we
the
need
person
another
taking the
moderator?
minutes, it's kind of hard to take minutes and run the meeting at the same time. So we recommend those being two people. So among you as ruling elders, one of you will moderate the IPNC.
Okay,
The moderators are the moderators of session or the moderator of session, but the IPNC, since it is the session, will still need to have a moderator to convene the meetings. And it's good practice to have a separate clerk because it's hard to run the meeting and keep the minutes.
For also following up on that, with if we have a call an interim pastor to serve here, would that person not be a part of the IPNC? Oh, no,
That'd be
He
because the
is-
nominating
he's
committee
the-
is done. They'd be done.
He'd be done.
They'd
Right.
be done. I'm
Yeah.
done. I'm done. Answer my question. Thank you.
Groovy,
Yep.
groovy. So, so one of the things I wanted to share with you, Izzy, be quiet, is a good place when you're filling out your ministry discernment profile. That's what MDP stands for, you will do a mission study. However, there will still be some things that you will need to you'll want to include in your documentation when you do your ministry discernment profile for your interim pastor. Did that communicate okay?
Try it again.
Yeah.
Okay. Shush. He's really feisty today. Okay, so when the church fills out its ministry discernment profile, when you're talking about Campbell Memorial, there might be some information that you'll want to include in that will help you to do that. That's preliminary to your mission study. So here is a website, and it's, can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay. It's and the link is in the document itself. What I did was I put in Weems, Virginia, and I put in your area code, your zip code, excuse me, and I put in a 3-mile radius. That is the recommended radius for any church, any house of worship. If you do that, it will, if you can see on the side where it says Campbell Memorial, and so St. Andrews is right there, and let's see,
Keep going.
right there. That's you all. And that's a 3-mile circumference. And this is a free resource for you. So you don't have to worry about this. This is, like I said, a free resource for you. But what it does is you can run reports. So if you look here, you'll see population and growth, family structure, age groups, housing types. All of this information is free to you. It was based on the last census information. And so if you were to look down, in your 3-mile radius, there are 9,461 people.
Nope, you're in the wrong place.
Yeah,
That's more people than live in our whole county.
Well, like I said, it's based on the census, but
we'll work around it.
counting fish.
We'll work around it.
so you're telling me that in Weems, okay, I'm sorry, it's for Weems, Virginia. There are not 9,000 people who live there?
No, no. That's a very
So-
rural area, Flo.
Yeah.
I mean,
Let the
like I
data
said,
people
it's
look at
based
that.
on the census, so
Well, there's another church that it has our name in Roanoke area.
This is census data. It's not based on our church. She's just saying what is. So
Well, that'd take you over across the river.
Yeah.
So you park-
it does because that's a
Well,
3-mile, that's the 3-mile radius
Well,
of your.
don't worry about, we'll sort it
Okay.
out.
Okay,
sort it
so what
out.
this does is it kind of gives you that information of single parents, whether children in the household. It gives you your area versus the general population. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to share that with you as a means of being able to say, this is a church that has this available, things of that nature, stuff like that. The interesting thing is what is the 55 and up. That's your largest population, of course.
That rings true.
Amen.
Yep. But another thing is looking at no high school diploma. It's right there. That's 10%. You think a GED program would be something that a church could offer and have some success with it? Perhaps. So that's another way of thinking about where's your mission in this area. If this information is true, which I'm not standing here or there on it, but it's from the census, so it probably has some relevancy to it. But again, you can look at these kinds of things and begin to see what's possible as far as your mission field and the types of ministries that you can begin to look at. There are other demographic studies that go very much deeper, but those cost money. But we're thankful for the Church of the Nazarene for giving this great gift to us. On the next page of your packet, it talks about the minimum terms of call for 2024, which for the Presbytery of the James is $52,000 for effective salary. That is also on the website, so it has all of that information on there. And that includes the cash salary plus housing. And that's how you figure out effective salary. One of the things that I want to say, and as we used to say in the military, foot stomp, if you choose to hire a retired minister, the church would be required to pay 12% retired minister pension dues if he, she, or they works over 19 hours per week. So just because they're retired doesn't mean there's no pension. But if they are retired, if they work over 19 hours a week, then the church will be required to pay 12% retired ministers dues. And of course, the other, if the person is not retired, then board of pensions dues right now is 39%. And there is a board of pensions calculator on their site that they can actually give you the right numbers as far as putting those in and making certain that they are correct. As part of our criteria, we do include, vacation and study leave. And there is a change. It probably would not be relevant to your interim, but just in case, family medical leave is 12 weeks instead of 8 weeks, and that is compensated by the church. Hopefully you would not have to worry about that during the interim time, but just letting you know that now it is 12 weeks of paid family medical leave. Usually there's a auto allowance or a travel allowance, and of course, continuing education for books and things of that nature. All right, let me see if I can. It might be good for me to pull this up and let you all see that. And it's probably going to be really small, but we'll try anyway. Can you all see that, or is it too small? Is it okay? Oh, good. So what you will do is, for the interim position, you will complete a ministry discernment profile and submit it to the session. So you would have a session, you could go into it or however you decide, but it would have to also be approved by COM. And of course, you all are the IPNC, so there's no problem there. You would enter the approved MDP online with Church Leadership Connection, and that is the link is on your on your packet. What you will want to do is figure out how you're going to evaluate the personal discernment profile of the persons that will match with you. We ask you to figure out how you're going to do it and try to make it as across the board as possible, doing the same things. Some churches say, well, we're going to let these two people interview this person, and I don't recommend that. If you are looking at PDPs, you all look at them and you can, throw them up like gymnastic scores, 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 10 out of 10. But now the system, once you decide that person is not for you, the system will automatically send them a letter when you say, okay, we're no longer interested. It used to be that you had to maintain that. You had to say if you were interested in a person, and if you weren't, it was up to that search committee to actually write a letter or make a telephone call or an email and say that we've decided to move forward with other candidates. Now, as soon as you say this is not the person, it's gonna immediately send that person an email that says that this congregation is moving forward. One of the things that I recommend, even for an interim, even though this person is going to be hired, is that you figure out a way to regularly report to the congregation where you are in the search process. We've received 12 PDPs. We received 40 PDPs. However, whatever it is, you keep the congregation abreast so that they're we're not congregational, but it's just good to say, this is where we are, or we've narrowed it down to 5, or this is when we stopped. We're going to stop taking in PDPs, and we're going to start looking at them now. So you can set those dates. Say, for example, everything gets done. It's the Sunday after Easter, you're live, and now you get to say, well, we have now activated our ministry discernment profile. It is live, and we're now receiving PDPs, just keeping them abreast. Any questions? Groovy. Narrowing the field of prospective pastors through listening to sermons, reference checks, things of that nature. If that person is outside of the presbytery, you'll definitely want to look at their references on their PDP if you're going to take them seriously, if you're looking at moving forward with them. You want to listen to sermons. If you're going to contact a secondary resource, you have, you know what I mean by, well, you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, reference checker, basically.
Right, they'll give you some, but sometimes you want to say, well, I know this person who knows this person, let me call them. What I advise is putting that on your MDP. We do secondary and tertiary reference checks. If you object to this, please let us know. Or you can say, we're seriously considering you. Are there other people that we can call? But you sort of kind of can't call other people without letting them know they're going to do that. And by all means, don't call the church that they're at right now. Because that church might not know that they're looking at that time, because that person could be moving for a number of reasons. This is all being, and I want to just stress this is all being just massaged in prayer and discernment. Your interim is going to be with you for a while. Under most circumstances, your interim does not become your pastor, because the work that they're doing is different than being the pastor of the church. They're getting you ready for the pastor. But it is possible, but rare. So what we say is, keep the interim so that you can look for your new pastor. Just emphasizing those 2 things in red, that the reference check needs to be done before the candidate visits, and the background check as well. And the reason why that is, Pastor Tom, you can probably attest to this. A church falls in love with the pastor who's coming, and you find out they have some red flags. You found out that they have had some situations going on that make it so that that would not be a good candidate. And so before you take the next step, as you're discerning, you want to make certain that that person is free and clear, that there are no red flags. And red flags are things like malfeasance, stuff like that. Crimes, stuff like that. You want to make certain that that person is in alignment with the theology of your congregation, as well as can gel with the social constructs. So the questions that I ask are, we're reformed, but are they more progressive in their theology? Are they fiscally conservative? Because those terms can be used and kind of bounced around, and people will sometimes put a blanket on them. Like, they may be socially progressive, but fiscally conservative, or vice versa. So those are the kinds of things that you want to know, and make certain that it comes through on your discernment, your ministry discernment profile, of the type of interim that you want. Interviewing face-to-face, the short list, that's when you have narrowed it down probably to the last 2. If it's one inside the presbytery and one outside, or something like that. You want to make certain that you arrange plenty of time for that person to go before COM, and all those things. And then, of course, negotiating the terms of the covenant and getting the approval from COM, because that person can't begin work until COM has approved them. It doesn't have to go before the presbytery, but it does have to go before COM. So they can't come on field until COM has approved them coming in. And then that's when you would tell the COC that your position has been accepted. And so we were kind of talking a little bit about, here's your website for the CLC. The terms MP is ministry profile. That was that part 1 on the myth that lists the name of the church and things of that nature. And then part 2 is the ministry discernment profile. That's where you're describing the position and the mission of the congregation, and as you're trying to find the right person for you. You're going to be looking at PDPs, personal discernment profiles. And this has all the information provided by the person who's looking for a call, so we can see if there is a match. And so it has all their work experience and things of that nature. One of the things, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Are there any questions so far?
Yeah, I got a couple, Flo. What is the pool of interim pastors approximately available in the POJ right now?
Slim.
So in all likelihood, we need to probably go outside the presbytery.
Yeah.
Okay.
The good news is
second-
that there are some presbyteries that are close by,
Right.
like PIVA and things of that nature, who a person could
And
be
National
finishing up.
Cap is not that far away.
Yeah, and they could be finishing up their interim. So that could also be a good thing.
Under what circumstances is an interim pastor not needed or required?
So, normally if a pastor has been in a call longer than 7 years, it's advisable. There are some congregations, and we haven't gotten here yet, that they want to either speed through the discernment process and go straight to that, or they want to they try to figure out a way to have a succession plan. And we have one congregation who is going to be calling a co-pastor, and then they have been very clear that when I retire, this co-pastor is going to become the pastor of the church. So that's not illegal. It's not against the polity, but a co-pastor has to be paid the same thing as the pastor. So it can't be you're paying them as an associate, but you're calling them co. So co means equal. And so if a church wants to do that, they can have two full-time pastors, But because of COVID, every church is in transition right now. And that's just a big part of, who are you now? Who you were when Jim Mosley came in was that pre-COVID?
That's
Yeah.
pre-COVID.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you were a different church then. Now you've had to make some adaptations. You've had to pivot. You've had to do a lot of things different than you haven't done before. So, and that takes time to discern what type of pastor do we need now, because that was the kind of pastor that you needed then. So, yeah,
Well,
it's pretty standard. It's a good interim can lead you to having a successful search process for your pastor. And so the time that it takes to even, get that interim, you want to be intentional about it, or else the pastor will end up being your default interim, because the work wasn't done to unearth the things that the church needs to know in order to move forward.
Can I ask?
Well,
Go ahead. Who's asking first?
hi, I'm back here.
Okay.
Well, I don't come from a Presbyterian background. I come from Methodist where it's kind of easy. They just appoint somebody and we go ahead. So that's the nature of my question is, if we're gonna go through this discernment process, we're gonna have the answer, so to speak, as to what we want to be before we choose an interim. Why don't we just go through that same process and choose a permanent pastor? Why do we go through this interim process first? It just seems to me like we're adding an extra year and we're gonna come up with the same. If we weren't doing the discernment process to find an interim, I could see an interim. But since we are, why can't we just go for a permanent?
That's a very good question. So discernment can be used in two ways. One, we discern lots of things. But the mission study is what the interim pastor takes you through, that is not something you do before you have an interim. So that mission study that you're going to be working through, it takes a little while to fill that out and to get to know the people and your assets around your community. And you have an interim in place who's doing those kinds of things and walking alongside you for that. Which the discernment is you're praying and asking, but you want to be able to say, well, this is who we are, but these are the things we want to also explore.
So you're saying that it takes an interim for us to figure out what our mission is.
Yes.
Okay. So to discern what our mission is, we have to have an interim pastor for a year or two or whatever, right?
It depends on how quickly you all are able to move throughout that process. I mean, you can't use your last myth because it's a completely different form. But you'll use your last ministry information form probably to see where you were and see what you need to change that no longer applies to where you were when Reverend Mosley came along. So again, that's been 6-7 years, I think, somewhere along there, give or take.
About 6.
Yeah, 6 years since the last mission study, yeah.
Yeah, and so again, so a lot of things have changed rapidly in the past 6 years, and so having that interim person there, that consistent person in the pulpit providing pastoral care and working alongside the PNC. So the IPNC is no longer, now you have a PNC and it's not the session. It's members elected from the congregation, as well as probably 1 or 2 people on session. But they're working independently as well from the session, and they do not report to the session. They report to the congregation.
Let me ask the same question in a slightly different way. This session, most of the people on this session were very much involved last time with the process, either as a member of session or active member of the congregation or on the PNC. And so this is still pretty fresh in our history. And we're in a situation right now that we're very, very comfortable with 2 quarter-time covenant pastors. Tom and Judy are doing a great job leading us. And I think we'd feel comfortable doing a lot of these interim steps with them, even though they're not officially the interim. So the question is there a way to move through the next steps and get to the point where we're ready to start the formal PNC process using Tom and Judy to guide us?
So what was requested from COM is that they be your bridge interims. It was not suggested that they be your interims. So that would take another vote and consideration from COM.
Okay,
That could be.
but it's something worth discussing, right?
I mean, that's if that is something that you all decided that you wanted to do, you could certainly petition COM and say, we would like for them to be our, co-interim pastors and help us to work through this process. I can't say what COM would say, but you can certainly make that petition.
Okay.
So, so the next thing I want to share with you, is,
Hi, I'm Eva Reboso,
oh,
and I
sorry about
am
that.
a full-time.
Okay, not that, not yet. Okay. I know you heard a whole lot of talking there. I spoke with you about the CLC, which is the place where you will go to find your candidates, whether you're looking for an interim or you're looking for a pastor. It's the same thing. So, I'm trying to bring this up. It's giving me the willies. It's not participating in what I want to do right now. All right, and screen share. All right. I'm trying to see if, staying with me to make this bigger. Oh, there we go.
Hi, I'm Eva Reboso, and I am a full-time CLC consultant. First, I'd like to show you how to reach the CLC website. So when you open up your browser, you may visit pcusa.org/CLC. And this will take you to the Office of the General Assembly Church Leadership Connection website. Scrolling down a little bit, here we have the CLC resources. We have resources for call seekers, churches, and mid-council leaders.
Okay, hold on a second.
For the purpose of this presentation, the one you would use is the button for churches, right? And the one for mid-council leaders. I'll go ahead and click the one for churches.
Okay, hold on.
Let's scroll down a little bit. And as you can see, here we have the blank form of the MDP. And we also have the user guide for the clerk of session, a guide for completing and creating the MDP.
Okay, I'm gonna start this over.
And we also
because
have
this is not
other
working for me right
resources
now.
such as how to answer and read the MDPs, an explanation of the new narrative questions that we have in place. And we have links for our tutorial videos, an explanation of the competency survey and terms and processes of CLC. So going back to the previous page, if you notice here on the right side, we have a link to the CLC system. So whether you have an account or not, you would need to click on the login button to reach the CLC website. So here we are. This is our CLC.
Okay. We're gonna try that again. That was a nightmare. Okay.
So we know where to go.
We know where to go. We
You know where to
do.
go. So on the
It's got
CLC,
training videos.
we're gonna go ahead on and just let that go. It was a 2-minute video, but technology is not being my friend right now, so we're just gonna go ahead and call it a end point. The CLC has all of the tutorial videos, how to best write your MDP. I mean, it's detailed with instructions on how to do all of those things, how to best fill it out so that you get the right kind of candidates as well, so that you can maximize those things, because it's a little bit different than your MIF used to be, in that it had these categories, but now there's just hundreds of things of characteristics that you're looking for. It also has the blank one on there. The clerk of session will have a login and be able to go into the CLC system. And so once your MDP, before it goes live, you'll send it, you'll actually send it to Leanne Ring. You'll send it to her, it'll go before COM, and then you'll be given the permission to go ahead and make it go live. And like I said, that is either for your interim or your, once you have a PNC, it'll be the same process. Again, your interim minister is doing something different than your your pastor will be doing. So you want to make sure that that person is, skilled in doing those things, interim training and stuff like that. Or if there are some specific things that you already know that the church needs to figure out, work on, sometimes congregations look at their finances and they need to do more for stewardship. So they want that interim to really work on some stewardship things to help the congregation to become more generous. So it just depends on if you know there's something that's underneath the surface that is not as visible to everyone. You would want that interim minister to know so that you can have an agreement around, we're going to work on these things. We're going to work on how do we empower our volunteers or whatever the case might be. So that when you're writing that on your MDP, it becomes very apparent what you are focusing on for that interim minister.
Well, I had a question about what you said. Are the interim candidates and the actual pastor candidates all in the same pool?
Some people, well, yes, they are. All of the every minister who is looking for a position, whether it's pastor, camp director, whatever, the CLC is our system, our repository for all ministers who are looking for a call or considering.
Okay, so it will say, I am looking for an interim pastor.
Yeah, so
I,
your
the
MD,
candidate,
yeah,
want to be an interim, or I, the candidate, want to be a real live, real thing.
right. So it'll match you.
Okay. All right.
So it matches you based on what you say you're looking for. So if you're looking for an interim, it's gonna match you with people who have those skills and who also would consider interim ministry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Flo, have we come to the end of your presentation?
Yes, we have.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Been very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
helpful.
Thank you.
I guess we'll see you in a week or so.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll see you on the 25th. No, so can you all tell me about the 9:00 worship service? Is that, yes,
Well, it is more of a
Contemporary.
contemporary
Coffee cup service.
service. We have it in our fellowship hall. We have more contemporary music. People sit around tables, kind of a bistro style. We have coffee and things to eat. While you are preaching, there is a modified order of service that we can go through it with you. It's
I can send her a
yes,
sample bulletin.
that would be good. Yeah.
I'll send you a sample bulletin flow for the 9
Okay.
and the 11 o'clock.
okay.
Typically, the sermons are the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my next question.
Yes, yeah, same sermon.
Yeah. And Flo, I'm going to be assisting you in both services, so I'll be handling the lion's share of the service itself. So we're reserving you for the sermon part.
Okay, so you have to hear it twice. Lord bless you.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I was slow learner. Probably be good I hear it twice.
Yeah, we like.
Okay,
Well,
okay, that was the clarity that I needed. And I think Tom, Linda gave me directions on making certain that I don't have to go over that bridge.
Over the other bridge.
Over the other bridge, yes, yes.
Yeah,
So,
the short one.
the short one, yes, and that's going through Milden, correct?
Well, that's going through Tappahannock.
Going through Tappahannock, okay.
Tappahannock, 360 to Tappahannock, and that's the short bridge.
Is it as high?
No,
No.
it's ground level.
No.
It does not,
Okay.
it does not arch.
It's
Okay.
Wider.
yeah.
Okay, so Tom, if you would send that to me, please.
Sure.
Thank
Can
you.
we ask you one thing, Flo?
Yes, please.
Please don't tell any of the candidates about the bridge.
Nothing wrong with that bridge.
You do it every day, right?
More than once.
You get used
So-
to it.
Right. So one of the things I was speaking with Keenan Rogers. He is our Board of Pensions representative for our for our synod. And I have been, giving you all the wonderful good news about the Pathways for Renewal program, which the Board of Pensions pays 3 to 5 years of pension if you call a pastor under 40 years old or until they get 40. They have stopped that program because it was really a good program, because it incentivized congregations to call a younger pastor and said, and we'll walk alongside you by taking care of their pension, because it's the pension dues that are just bananas now. So by 2025, we will be under a new structure. This is a season of rebuilding for the Board of Pensions. And so there's just a lot of changes that are going to be coming down the pipeline, but there are more options. So hopefully by the time you are getting ready to call a pastor, there might be some other things that we will be able to consider. One of the things that I've been noodling on is, what can you do for a minister who is going to a place that's more rural? Or Weems is more rural, but it's also more affluent, if you look at the salaries. So it's rural, but you gotta have some money to live there because it's right on the water and all that kind of stuff. So you all are very unique in your demographics and who are the people who are around you. If I had a magic wand, and I do have one, it just doesn't work. I would be trying to convince the presbytery to offer incentives to ministers who come and serve in our more remote areas, our rural areas, or areas that may be smaller in size, kinds of things. But we haven't gotten there yet. But that's something to me that would make the James as a presbytery more attractive to come. But we're not there yet because we got a few more hurdles to cross. But to me, it's in the military, when you deploy to certain places, you get more money because the place is more dangerous. It's a hazardous duty pay because that's where you are. And to me, it makes sense. This is not a hazard, but what I'm saying though is that sometimes you all think that people don't want to come to that area, but it's a beautiful place. If it weren't so far from the presbytery office, I would live there. Because I love that area. It's just gorgeous. When I was there last year, I fell in love. And I think that that's part of the thing, that if you come there, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. So, when you're describing your area, talk about that. It's a beautiful area on near the water, beautiful, scenic, all these things that would be enticing for a person. So, that is what I would be looking at as far as how you share that information about your church.
Okay. Well, thank you, Flo.
Thank you very much.
All righty then. Thank you so much. If there's anything else, just give me a holler. All right now. All right. Goodbye, y'all.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Turn it off. I won't say anything before you turn off.
Still take.
It's still taking, yeah.